The current overseas democracy movement is truly obsolete. Guarding those outdated medals, your egos are terrifyingly large, your courage is pathetically small, and your efficiency is absurdly low. Your dreams are as small as your headquarters.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris Ma. You may recognize me from my last video where I challenged China Democracy Party. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll put a link in the description. Guess what? The China Democracy Party have already blocked me. They only want praise, not audits. They only want donations, not solutions. Since they are scared and won't let me go back to their headquarters again, I will give these obsolete politicians a lesson right here at the entrance of New York City City Hall. Last time we talked about education, which sparked a lot of valuable discussion. Today I will still use education as an entry point to expand on my political views. But before that, a personal story. The first time I took the high-speed rail was to Shanghai. I was overwhelmed by its speed and convenience and loved it very much. Later, when high-speed rail was being built on a large scale, I was very happy and supportive. I truly believed it could drive Chinese economy and create jobs. It also fit the simple perception I had since childhood. To get rich, build a road first. This slogan was also part of the Chinese political correctness system. But I was slapped in the face by the facts. Because the high-speed rail has already been built into Dushan County. You might now know this Dushan County. It was quite famous before, but not for any local specialty, but for local debt. A small county with a permanent population of about 260k owes 40 billion RMB. On average, each person owes more than 150k. Such a small county utilized the Chinese political correctness of building roads to get rich, to get its own high-speed rail. The train tickets revenue isn't even enough to cover the operating cost. They can't even afford to turn on the air conditioning anymore. This is just a part of the current state of China's high-speed rail. I don't deny that some HSR lines are extremely profitable, but I also know that a large portion of China's HSR lines are operating at a loss. Why has the common sense of building roads to get rich also been broken? The reason is simple. Any investment follows the law of diminishing marginal utility. Whether investing in HSR or tourist attractions, the return on investment is not linearly increasing. Overinvestment will lead to bankruptcy. Let me tell you another personal story. On May 1st, I took part in the American May Day March. This march focuses on the fight for workers' rights and social welfare. I saw many interesting slogans, such as No War, Put Money into Education, Workers' Rights and Social Welfare, etc. As a Chinese person, even I thought they were very good. Those slogans are very politically correct even in China. And we Chinese support them as well. They are all common sense. I refer to education, healthcare, and social welfare collectively as human capital investment. So the question arises, do these human capital investment also follow the law of diminishing marginal utility? The answer is yes. It is also a fact that welfare states are insufficient and breed laziness. Of course, I'm not here to call for cutting education or social welfare spending in China to subsidize the HSR in Dushan County. When spending too little won't work and spending too much results in a loss, you have to find a balance. And that's where we engineers come into play. Now I can finally answer the question of how to spend China's 21.6 trillion fiscal budget. I will start cutting the cake for education. The Chinese government's current education expenditure is about 6.89 trillion. We must add to it. First, add another 500 billion to make high school compulsory. In 1974, when California's GDP per capita was only 6,500 a year, they extended compulsory education to high school. Now, China's GDP per capita is already double that of California in 1974. We have the resource, of course. We also need to solve the problem of educational equality. Otherwise, the efficiency of spending money will be too low. Due to time constraints, I won't expand on that today. We can talk about it next video. 500 billion is not a small amount. The latest aircraft carrier, the Fujian, cost only 50 billion. With 500 billion, you can have another 10 more. Especially now that the gross enrollment rate for high school in China has already reached 92%, while this data includes vocational high schools. Is it worth it to spend 500 billion on the remaining 8%, about 1 to 1.5 million Chinese teenagers every year? Absolutely. Smashing this 500 billion into the remaining 8% of school dropouts has more national defense significance than smashing it into another 10 aircraft carrier battle groups. Because the stability of society isn't defined by its high ceiling, but by its lowest floor. We either spend money to build classrooms now or spend 3 times more later to build jails and prisons. Furthermore, we can eliminate vocational high schools. What are vocational high schools like in China? Can you learn anything? What is the learning atmosphere like? Anyone who isn't a complete outsider should know in their heart. What's more terrifying is that current vocational high schools are essentially using administrative means to announce that a portion of Chinese citizens are trash. What we want to eliminate is not vocational education, but the screening mechanism that treats people as low-end parts. Ensuring every person complete high school education is baseline to guarantee the super system of nation meets its computational power standards. If every Chinese person could receive general education through high school, raising China's GDP per capita to 30,000 a year, the level of today's Japan or South Korea level would be no problem. But why not just add another 2 trillion to include university in compulsory education, or add 1 trillion for postgrads, or even 3 trillions to make doctorates compulsory? The reason is simple. Higher education is no longer a big pot of rice. It requires selection, interest, and even talent. Additional educational investment will be inefficient or even become a burden on society. However, my proposition and political views can also move forward with the development of China's economy and technology. If the impact of AI is large enough, I believe high school can add relevant training or even extend the school system. Or if any adults believe that they cannot find a job in the new labor market, they can receive 2 years or more of compulsory job training. Or if China's GDP per capita exceeds 100,000 a year, then university must certainly be compulsory as well. We've only talked about 7.5 trillion budget and it already taken this long. I haven't even answered the question where the 500 billion for new educational investment will come from. That will have to wait until next video. Last time I went to the China Democracy Party, those so-called democracy movement leaders thought that I didn't understand politics. And the question I asked were too detailed and too bottom tier. But today I must tell them why I use the most direct language to explain policies, and why I am obsessed over that 21.6 trillion fiscal budget. Because I believe in the Chinese people. I not only believe in the diligence of Chinese people, I also believe in their intelligence. They don't need those profound lisms for brainwashing. They need a bill that is visible and calculatable. Their arrogance comes from being out of touch with Chinese society. They sit in their overseas offices talking about enlightenment, but they don't realize that today's Chinese people no longer need to be enlightened by anyone. They only need to be empowered. The China Democracy Party say they want to save the country, but they don't even look at the kids who drop out of high school or are ruined by the vocational schools. They talk about Tiananmen, I talk about Dushan County. Why do I calculate at 500 billion? Because that is the life of 1.5 Chinese teenagers. While those so-called democracy parties are debating who is legitimate and who is the leader, I am thinking about how to dig this money out of steel and concrete and turn it into skills and dignity of those children. I am willing to speak plainly because I want every young person tightening screws on an assembly line right now to know democracy is not about changing masters for you. It is about giving you the right to education and healthcare that are rightfully yours, along with every penny of wasted fiscal budget, and converting them into your future competitiveness. Those overseas democracy movements have been out of touch with the domestic situation for too long, so long that they have forgotten how this generation of Chinese people thinks. Today's Chinese people live in a world of internet, algorithms, and global competition. They don't need an obsolete organization that can't even draw up a budget sheet. I will not join them, but I will audit them. If a party claiming to bring future to China can't even provide the basic logic of social governance and has no empathy for ordinary people, then they are not the prescription, but another disease. I know the resources of overseas democracy movement are very limited, but if the direction is right, small resources can also have a huge impact. It's asymmetric warfare. Small Ukraine can hold off Russia. Small Trump can defeat century-old Republican and Democratic parties. The flag from anime One Piece have already been used by Gen Z to knock out several regimes. I know those democracy movement leaders are very proud of their previous struggles in Tiananmen Square, but Tiananmen is very small. How many people can actually see you there? Today, if a major Twitter influencer like Li Laoshi posts a few tweets, the number of people who see them can fill up several Tiananmen Square. And Li Laoshi is very cheap. I call him cheap as the highest compliment. This means that the cost of spreading the truth has been crashed to the freezing point by technology. How much did it cost to run a newspaper before? How much does it cost to send a few Twitter out now? In the 21st century, if you want to speak out or engage in politics, you don't need a newspaper office and you don't need a plaza anymore. It doesn't cost much at all. In fact, the ways for people overseas to avoid being out of touch with the domestic situation is also on the internet. It is very simple. In my previous 9 to 5 job, I understood China through the internet. China is so big. Do I have to travel around every day to find out what's going on? No, ultimately, it's about strategy and tactics. Finally, I have two sentences for all so-called democracy parties. The current overseas democracy movement is truly obsolete, guarding those outdated medals. Your egos are terrifyingly large, your courage is pathetically small, and your efficiency is absurdly low. Your dreams are as small as your headquarters. Thank you. Since you watched this far, please like and subscribe. If you have anything you want to say, I will see you directly in the comments.